Today's show is a very special one because we're going to be talking about something that's very near and dear to me, the path of selfless action. Performing deeds in a selfless way without any attachment to the results, out of love and service to humanity. And I'm really excited to have my guest today, Dr. Jimmy Nanda. Jimmy is the chairman of the Association of Indian Chiropractic Doctors. He's also the chairman, board of Regents, Life Chiropractic College West, the international director of the International Chiropractic Association. He's also a very successful businessman and, most importantly, a father and a husband. So stay tuned for this exciting interview coming up. So, hi everyone. Thanks for joining me on today's special edition of Health, Happiness, and Destiny. I'm here live in the studio with Dr. Jimmy Nanda, who's a chiropractor, humanitarian, and he has some fantastic knowledge that he's going to share with us today. Jimmy, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you, Joey. Appreciate that.
I'd like to start off and jump right in, and maybe you could tell us a little bit about your background and what led you into the world of chiropractic medicine.
Yeah, perfect. Well, Joey, first of all, thank you for having me, and it's an honor to be here. And the journey started actually, if you want to go back, I'm born and raised in Canada and Ontario, so it's quite a journey when I understand, and you and I were talking previously, that my parents actually had immigrated to Canada in the 70s. And when they came here, they came here with nothing. In those days, any immigrant family coming to Canada would come with, I was thinking the rule at that time was $8 to $10 in your pocket. So my parents, worked in Ontario, struggled, and, did everything and gave us the Canadian dream. So the opportunity came when I was in university and was exploring options, career options. The path of chiropractic was put in front of me. I always knew if I had the opportunity to help as many people as we can, healthcare would be probably the best avenue to do that. So the journey I looked and explored and saw what could I do, and chiropractic jumped out, and I was advised by my mentor that said, this is the path that is probably best suited for your personality. So started chiropractic school, moved to the United States, and was educated in the San Francisco Bay Area at Life Chiropractic College West. Graduated in 2003 and came back to Ontario and started to practice.
Wow, that's great. Thanks for sharing that. Now, the thing with your background is that you've had the ability to work in a number of different countries. So you've not only worked in Canada, you've also worked in the U.S., and more recently you've done a lot of work in India. So I'm wondering if you could walk us through a little bit more, maybe the differences in practicing in the different countries. And I know India chiropractic is fairly new, so maybe we can talk a little bit about that as well.
Well, that's an interesting question, because when I was learning and when I was in school and I was learning about chiropractic, it's in Canada, it's in America, maybe it's my naivety that I did not know that chiropractic wasn't global at the time. It wasn't in India. It was all in mostly Western world, right. And it was there, but it just wasn't in India. So as a student, when I realized that it wasn't there, I said, this doesn't make sense, because one of the beliefs I have, Joey, and as I said, being from an immigrant family, was that certain fundamental rights I feel that should be universal. And one is healthcare, quality healthcare, ethical healthcare, moral healthcare. Mm-hmm. So what you and I have in Canada, where we don't think if we're sick, we go to the doctor, we go to the hospital, everything's taken care of. And I know it's a foreign concept for some people, but having that background and growing up in an environment where I was just focusing on education, I never had to worry about health, knowing that if anything happened, you can just go see a doctor. So when I realized that wasn't there, it really impacted me that why is chiropractic not in India? Why are certain other medical specialties that I have here in Canada or America not available in India? So that exploration led to the creation of the Indian Association of Chiropractic Doctors in early 2000s. And after that, it's grown into an official association, and our association was actually welcomed into the World Federation of Chiropractic in about 2005. And since then, it's just been a great growth for allowing us to expose the Indian population to essentially healthcare that was never available to them before.
Yeah, Thanks for sharing that. So, with chiropractic in India, there's only currently a small limited amount of centers. So if people are looking for chiropractic help, this is what I noticed when I went to India as well. People were just so enamored with chiropractors. The chiropractic community were treated like rock stars. So it's very nice to see, and also people benefiting. Why do you think that is? That people in India, like, number one, just why it hasn't really flourished up until recently. The number of chiropractic centers in India is growing, and so why do you think that is? And how do you see that growing within the next couple of years?
So it's fascinating because first of all, India is a large country. If you've never been there, and I know you've been there recently, but it is a massive country. Yeah, so when you have 1.3 billion people, and by 2020, India will be the most populated country in the world. So when you look at the dynamics of that, we only have 12 chiropractors full-time right now in India. We have hundreds of members, hundreds of supporters that are part of the association and support in whatever endeavor we have. So the reason for that is because there's no school. Now, an interesting fact for anybody that is not aware, chiropractic was in India until 1947, India's independence from Britain. Okay. And the reason was, at the time, there were Mahatma Gandhi, which we all know, was one of the key people for India's independence movement. And he actually documented evidence in newspapers in India at the time in the early 40s where Mahatma Gandhi had a chiropractor visit him. He had high blood pressure and was unable to go to his freedom rallies. So it was documented that a doctor moved in with Mahatma Gandhi for 3 months, and that was the only way to get his blood pressure under control so he could go. So the joke's always been in chiropractic that if it not been for chiropractic, India might have not been independent. But again, Mahatma Gandhi and the independence movement, it was fantastic. But some of the things that were prior to 1947 was education. Right. So chiropractic education wasn't open for Indians prior, and that's why you don't have many chiropractors. There's no school there right now. So one of the things the Indian Association is looking at is developing an educational system. We're working very close with the Indian government. As chairman of the Indian Association of Chiropractic Doctors, I work very closely with many organizations there that are looking to bring a formal education system to India. And then the more chiropractors you have there, you'll be able to serve the people more. And leading to the last question you asked me about how does chiropractic work with the health system? Another reason, which is, again, you and I living in Canada, we're very, very privileged, very lucky. Absolutely. And I'm very humbled every day, and I'm very thankful for all the opportunities given to us. So it's one of I feel that it's our obligation somewhat that we need to give back more to humanity, to those that are suffering. If somebody can afford to go and travel all over the world to get the right health care, great for them. But what about the people that can't? So we want to make sure we can have as many doctors go to India as possible, set up that foundation so for the future you don't have to worry about that. Now in India, there's only medicine, surgery, and really there's alternative care, or there's basically nothing. There's really no in between. Mm-hmm. So chiropractic fills that void like here. We are a preventative profession, and we also deal with many musculoskeletal conditions, pain, spinal related conditions. But beyond that, over the evolution of chiropractic, we do many more things that essentially make sure that our spine and nervous system are functioning optimally. And that's the only way to have optimal health. Now, one may ask, well, I can take a medicine. Yes, you can take a medicine, but when a doctor prescribes a medication, or you go to a different therapist or a different type of doctor, whatever it may be, your body is your body. It has that innate intelligence and perfection already. So why does an antibiotic or a pain pill maybe work for one person and not another? All that pill or medication is doing its job, whatever chemically it's produced to do. But it's up to the body to accept that medication or not. So remember, the body's perfect. So that's why if the body accepts that treatment, we say the person got better or the treatment worked. If it doesn't get better, it may need another type of treatment so that body will accept it. And chiropractic fits that need, because when we look at the spine and nervous system, any nerve interference that may be there, we take care of that through specific chiropractic adjustments. And when we do that, to put that force into the body, put that knowledge that we have into the body, you find that the body will receive more. The research is very strong on chiropractic, as you're well aware, just like many of the other treatments that are out there. So we work very closely with the medical community in India. The orthopedic surgeons and the chiropractic doctors and many of the other doctors work very well together. So we want to give the population of India the best healthcare that we can possibly give.
That's great. So this is actually a good segue into my next question, which is, I happen to know on a personal level that you're involved in a lot of humanitarian work abroad, and particularly in India. And I was wondering maybe if you could elaborate a little bit about the humanitarian missions that you've been involved in. How did this come about, and how has it evolved over the past couple of years? Because when I went in India in January, I did a video as well of the mission trip that we did, and it was fantastic, and it was very inspiring to see. So I'm just wondering what the evolution process was and like how it came to fruition.
All right. So again, humanitarian work is something that's very close to my heart, and a lot of our association members. Again, I think the real reason is when you really look at the perspective. Now, I'm a father of 4, so my wife and my children and I grew up in Canada, as I said, to immigrant family. When I seen the struggles that my parents had and all my relatives that first came to the country, growing up here, it puts life in perspective that things are not handed. You got to work very hard for what you do. And when I was given the opportunity to get educated here and go to the best schools and as I said, have the best healthcare, it really put that in perspective that how do I give back from what I received, and that's really what it came down to. So when I graduated and moved here in 2003, I worked very hard to establish chiropractic clinics, medical clinics. We were very involved in other healthcare businesses here. And, with blessings, everything went very well. And only then did that give me opportunity while I was doing the Indian Association to travel to India, see firsthand what was there. So we've done many trips, mission trips in India. We've done many health camps or PSA, public service announcements, and public service events throughout India in villages, cities. And more recently, in 2013, we've added 2 larger trips, which is done in Delhi, which you're aware of, and January, which you attended, which we do massive, we've worked with an organization there. It's a mission there out of New Delhi that's organized these huge health camps. And the spiritual leader of this mission wanted to bring chiropractic there because he felt that, again, this was a missing link in India. Having been to North America, he knew it was everywhere, and he thought that this would be something to bring. So we experimented with the first one in that camp, and it became a huge success because of the sheer number of people. So we were normally dealing with, let's say, thousands of people in a village or things like that, but here, 1.5 million at a mission camp. And you're trying to work with maybe 30 to 40 doctors initially is what we started with when it was getting bigger. And more recently, 60 doctors would come to a service trip. And the beautiful thing about this is you're taking 60 doctors from all over the world that have one goal in mind, is that's to serve. So it's a beautiful thing. We all come from different backgrounds. We have no idea who each other are, no relations, other than this one united vision that we want to serve. So it's such a beautiful thing when you come together. The energy's there, and you felt that in January. It's a spiritual place, congregation, the mission we were at. So everybody is a like-minded situation that we just want to serve. So from there it progressed. Now we're in 2018. We've done probably, I would say, including the recent mission trips, we've done probably 40 to 50 mission-type trips and camps throughout India. So it's been a great opportunity, and we are looking forward to doing many, many more for many years. Again, we want to change the consciousness of the population of India and the population of the world, that your healthcare is it's up to us to change that. Because Joey, you and I, we can sit here and have a very poor diet, but then we can't blame anybody for that, right? That's ourselves. So it starts at home. And then when you look at a more spiritual thing, that saying that's there, that the body's your temple. So if we don't treat the body as our temple, there is no way we can be our best human potential when we're going out to serve. So we got to start with ourselves, and if we do that together, I think collectively we can change that consciousness.
That's wonderful. And what the beautiful thing to me, at least my experience, my strongest takeaway from my whole experience with the mission trip, really was seeing love and service. As you mentioned, there was no, like, everybody coming from different backgrounds. So there was no, the common thread there wasn't along religious lines. It wasn't along cultural lines. It was on a higher level. It was a level of brotherhood and sisterhood, and it was so inspiring to see that. And you were the one who originally put the bug in my ear that maybe I should go, and I thank you so much for inviting me along, because it was a lifetime experience of a lifetime for sure. In addition to doing all your work in India, you're involved in a number of projects, and I'm just curious, in terms of outreach, is it only in India, or do you work in other countries? Let's talk about outreach in Canada or the US. Are there any programs that are going on more locally?
Well, yes, in Canada, and I've been practicing since 2003. So in our clinics, when I was practicing, I always had, you start with the community. And I'm a very, very strong supporter of our servicemen, military, our police officers that keep us safe, our first responders. So one of the things in our clinics we did is that, as you know, in North America, we're an insurance-based model. And so we made it a very, very big component of our clinic to allow any first responders, anything like that, to come in for free care. It wouldn't matter what they were doing, because that's the little I can do to give back to what they've sacrificed for us. So that's some of the things we do. I'm also involved, as you know, like you mentioned earlier, I'm chairman of the Life Chiropractic College West. That's the school I graduated from, San Francisco. So I was proud that, our board of Regents there, that we were able to set up a diversity committee. And we're involved in a lot of diversity issues that want to bring people together. All backgrounds, doesn't matter what you come from. So we do a lot of initiatives like that. And here again in Canada, in my local community, we're involved in anti-bullying events, working with the government and certain ministers about seeing how we can improve the community. So glad to say that many things are just great things are happening here. I feel that there's a consensus going on that everyone's community oriented, and we're trying to really enhance Canada's education, and we're trying to bring more awareness to certain things that are happening globally, and just make our children a little bit stronger and more prepared for the future.
That's great. So chiropractic obviously now is making inroads in particularly in India, as it has in North America. And where do you see things headed, over the next 3 to 5 years, and what is your vision for chiropractic, both in India and globally?
Well, globally, as you mentioned earlier, that I am the international director for the International Chiropractic Association, ICA. Mm-hmm. And that's a fantastic association, along with the World Federation of Chiropractic, which India is a member of globally, again, exposing chiropractic to the world on a conscious level, that we have to change our health, change the healthcare system of the world for preventative care, for making sure we take care of ourselves and not rely on a sickness model where we only go to the doctor when it's too late. I mean, in our practices, we see a lot of cancer patients, a lot of patients with severe disc problems, severe pain. And when you go back into the history and you really analyze the history of the patient, we see these things started many, many years ago. I mean, as you know, in your profession too. And they build up over time till we hit that tipping point. When you hit that tipping point, we end up going to the doctor. Unfortunately, that's the model that's out there in the world. Mm-hmm. So we want to change that, as I said, consciousness, or that thought process, to say that how do we make sure, do we exercise, do we eat right, do we see our doctors regularly for physicals and checkups, do we go to our chiropractor for regular adjustments, regular spinal checks, do we go to our therapists, do we talk to our friends, are we socially active, are we, there's so many factors here that make sure that we're in a healthy position. And I think chiropractors are leading that way. And the ICA, as my role is, I travel all over the world and meeting with different chiropractic doctors, meeting with different physicians, orthopedic surgeons, so on. And the beauty of that is I see now that this consciousness is changing. there is a big shift happening in the world right now, Joey, which is just amazing. And it's humbling to see that now we have integrative centers coming on board where chiropractors are working with surgeons and trying to prevent surgical procedures from happening. A lot of the doctors are saying, how can we work together on doing maybe mission trips or events that we can, do lectures and seminars and conferences. So a lot of beautiful things like that are happening. And I think it's up to us, as I said, the ICA and the WFC and these global leaders of leading the way, of holding more events, global events, and making sure that people that don't have access to healthcare, this is the biggest thing, Joey, even unfortunately in America, in Canada, there are certain segments of our population, our Indigenous population up north here, even in Ontario or across Canada, there's no access to some healthcare, just maybe due to where they are, transport, or having practitioners move up into those areas. So how can we help from a Canadian perspective, American perspective, global perspective? Some of the people you saw in January, when they came to our health camp, mission camp, being in a country of India so large, 1.3 billion people, we were the first doctors they've seen in their life. That's some of the feedback we got. Children that would come, never seen a doctor, never had a checkup, and they're 4 or 5 years old. Oh. And we discovered many conditions that were there that are normally treatable, which we take for granted here in Canada. That these children, and again, it hits home because I have 4 children. And maybe that was the change sometimes in my life that happened, and you being a father too of 2 children, so you understand that and you saw that, and it hit home, and that's led me to shift my life to see how can we serve more, how can, like I invited you, I always talk about, listen, you should come with us to India and serve, see what's really in the world, because again, we're living in a bubble here, and I love it. I mean, I love the fact that we're in the greatest country in the world, but sure, what can we do more to make this global village, we say, this entire world become more connected? And I think that starts with us, right? Individually, if we can make a small dent or a small ripple, then hopefully more people will come and follow and try to change that.
Wow, this is very inspiring, and it's music to my ears, and I think it's something that the world sorely needs now. And so to sort of wrap this all up and say, like, how does this tie into Jimmy's Dr. Jimmy's personal mission in life? Like, what is that driving, motivating factor for you, and what are you the most excited about through all of this?
Well, every day I wake up excited, and I'm just excited about what can we do today that can change the world for tomorrow. It's something, as I said, probably growing up in the family I grew up in, my parents were very encouraging and motivating as I was growing up, and as I said, they made it the Canadian dream. So when they did that, I just think about it every day, and I have 2 younger brothers, and they're successful lawyers practicing in Canada. So they are doing their work the same way I'm doing mine. So my inspiration from a personal level at this point going forward is, how do I encourage my children to understand that things that they're living in the greatest country in the world is a result of previous generations' hard work and dedication and blessings. And that's how I think about every day. And my wife and myself and my children, we always collectively sit and talk about, how do we make the world a better place? What are you going to do for the world to make it a better place? And when we do these trips to India, I had an opportunity to take both my sons, my older sons, to India to see, this is what the world is really like. It's not your PS4s and video games and all those type of things. It's actually seeing what majority of our population, of our global population, live like. So they've observed. When they came back, I would ask them, tell me, what are your experiences? And when I heard the feedback from my children, I realized that that's something. You can't have a personal life that doesn't involve some sort of service, some sort of giving back. Otherwise, I feel you're just stuck in a rat race. There's really no purpose. And I think that I find maybe it's a personal thing, that I find that purpose to live, knowing that we can take the knowledge and the wonderful experiences we have here in North America and share that with the world. So I think that's how I tie them in together. Well, I want to say that in closing, I'm a lot of the work you do. First of all, I know it's been a while to try to schedule me to be here, but I'm very glad that we finally made it happen. Mm-hmm. And my only thing for all your viewers and everything is to know that if you're out there and you're serving your community and helping your community, what can we do better? What can we do better to make the world a better place, to make our children grow up in a world that's safer, healthier, and less divisive, more loving? And that's, I guess, the biggest takeaway message I'd like to share, that if we can do that collectively together with all the people that you have, that you know, and we can all come together, that's our goal in life. And if we can do that, the world will be a better place.
Thank you very much for sharing. And thanks for coming today and sharing with us and sharing with the viewers. Jimmy, it's always a pleasure to be speaking with you, and I'm just so humbled that you would come on the channel and talk with us today. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have you subscribed yet? No? Why not? Click on the subscribe button below and stay informed of all my latest updates. Thanks for watching, and have a blissful day.